kindly go through the course content. If you see that a certain topic is there, but isn't there in the course content, still you would like to add it into the course content, let us know. And similarly, if you have any particular topic which you say that, sure, we already know, please don't discuss this. Okay, you can even update me on that. Okay, we can work accordingly. Okay, yeah. So coming back to our first session, as part of the first session, as we discussed, okay, generally I start my session from the basics. When I'm saying basics of JBoss application server, first of all, we have to understand what exactly is meant by the term application server. If I know what is meant by the term application server, I can know what exactly is meant by JBoss application server. Then accordingly, okay, I'll be able to understand more about the JBoss application server. So if you see the first one called as an application server, what exactly is meant by the term application server? What is this application server is all about? If you see the application server, okay, I believe both Satish and Venu are from the application server background. Am I correct?
Yeah, not
Yes.
exactly.
Okay. So Venu was saying something. Venu, did I miss out anything?
No, no, no.
Cool.
Shiva, could you able to hear me?
Satish, I can hear you now.
Okay, fine. Yeah, I'm not from a middleware background. I started
Okay, no
learning
problem.
middleware.
Then let me start from here. Okay,
Yeah.
good. So if you want to understand what exactly is meant by the term application server, we have to go back to little bit uh, behind the history of the application server. Before the term application server was being introduced into the market, there was another server that was ruling called as web server. Web server with a servlet container inside it. Before the web server was there in the market, there was another server called as a file system handler that was present in the market. Clear? We are trying to understand what exactly is meant by the term application server. A history of the term application server. The application server was being introduced into the market because of some problems, because of some issues related to the web server with a servlet container inside that. Okay, why is it web server got introduced into the market? Because of a programming language by name Java J2W. Since there was a programming language by name Java J2W introduced into the market, that's the reason we had web server with a servlet container inside it. So how was the trend before this web server or Java was being there in the market? Before the Java or web server was introduced into the market, there was a programming language that was ruling the market called as static programming languages, or I can say scripting programming languages. Okay, because of a programming language called as an scripting programming language. Okay, since scripting programming languages are also programming languages which were present long before the Java or the Java J2W programming language. Okay, these are the programming languages using which people used to develop their applications, modules, okay, or whatever is the software component they want to develop. They were they were developing all their modules, all their applications using a programming language called as an scripting programming language. Sure, what is the scripting programming language capable of? What are the features? What are the advantages or disadvantages? If you see the scripting programming languages, the only advantage, the only feature of the scripting programming language is that it can have the capability to process or to deliver the static content. Any application, any module, any program developed using the scripting programming languages has a unique capability that it can process or it can deliver the static output. Shiva, what do you mean by static output? Static output are nothing but your JPEGs, or it could be a text, or it could be a header and footer. Okay, it could be anything like this. For example, if you see, if you go back to the if you go back to the site called as in wellsfargo.com, okay, you see some images of the wellsfargo.com. These images, the logo of this particular company, or this header you're trying to see here, or the text, okay, this is a footer. If whatever you're trying to see here, it remains constant, okay, either you're coming in accessing the site today, tomorrow, after 1 month, or after a year, for a considerable amount of the time, the content remains constant. Such kind of a content, such kind of an output, which remains constant for a longer duration of the time, is called as static response, is called as static output. Your scripting programming languages had a unique capability that they can deliver, whatever the applications that have been developed, they had the capability of delivering the static content. Clear, everyone? Okay. Silence,
Yeah, boss.
I'll assume you're clear.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone had a question, sorry.
Yeah, clear. It's fine.
Good. So, your scripting programming languages, okay, are nothing but the programming languages which had a unique capability, unique advantage, unique disadvantage, unique feature that it can deliver the static response. Okay. So, since scripting programming languages are also a kind of a programming languages, okay, and they generate some kind of an output, in order to process the code related to the scripting programming languages, I need a server. I need a container. The server or the container that was processing the code related to the scripting programming languages is called as file system handler. Clear? The server, the container that was processing the code related to the scripting programming languages was called as file system handler. What is this file system handler? This file system handler is a server or a container that is responsible to process the code related to scripting programming languages. But what are my scripting programming languages? They are the one which generates the static output. Hence, I can say that my file system handler is a server or a container that is responsible to process the code related to the scripting programming languages and hence deliver static content. Or, in short and sweet, I can say that my scripting programming languages is a container or a server that can process the code and deliver the static content. Clear?
Yeah.
Anyone? Any questions still here?
No. Fine.
For Venu, it might be like going through the basics. Okay, so just bear with us for some more time.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so this is what is your file system handler. Okay, and this is what is what your file system handler can do. Okay, so anything and everything related to the static content, I can comfortably use my file system handler to process the code. When file system handler was there, okay, this file system handler, as I said, it is the one that is responsible to process the code related to the scripting programming languages and in turn generate the static content. But when scripting programming languages were there, when they were ruling the market, when they were ruling the programming market, suddenly Sun Microsystems came into the market, which is right now called as an Oracle, and they said that we have a programming language called as Java J2EE, inside which we have something called as an servlets and JSP. If you are using this servlets and JSP to develop your applications, to develop your modules, I can give a guarantee that it can not only deliver the static response, but it can also deliver the dynamic content. Clear? What is my servlets and JSP? Okay. Before servlets and JSP was there, the programming languages that were ruling the market is called as scripting programming languages. When Java J2EE was introduced into the market as part of the Java J2EE or as part of Java J2SE, there was a programming language called as an servlets and JSP. What Sun Microsystem or right now Oracle was saying is that, okay, if you are developing your applications, if you are developing your modules using servlets and JSP, I can not only give a guarantee of delivering the static response, but whatever the applications you are developing with this technology, I give a guarantee of dynamic content. Clear? What is static content? We all know. What is meant by dynamic content? Simple. I open my Gmail and I see that there are 300 emails in my account. I'm trying to read one email. Automatically, the total number of 100 email count goes to 2. I read another email. Automatically, the total number of 100 email count goes to 1. I read another email, which is my third email. The total number of 100 email count goes to 0. Okay, I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing any maintenance. Automatically, it is happening there. You have around $5,000 in your account. Okay, you did a shopping. You made a withdrawal of $500. When you click on account balance, automatically it will be showing you the updated account balance as $4,500. You're not doing any maintenance. Okay, it's happening up automatically. So this kind of a capability, this kind of an ability, we call it as dynamic response. Your service and JSP not only have a capability to deliver the static response, static content, but they also have a capability to deliver the dynamic content. So obviously, when compared to the scripting programming languages, my servlets and JSP are much more advanced. So what is happening up now? All the developers, okay, are started moving away from scripting programming languages to servlets and JSP. But there is a problem here. What is the problem? To process the code related to the static content or scripting programming languages, I have a server by name file system handler. But servlets and JSP can not only deliver the static, they can also deliver a dynamic content. So I can't use my file system handler. There should be some other server that has to be developed to meet this requirement. So what happened? Many developers, many people started doing a lot of R&D, and as part of their continuous R&D to meet up the current requirement, they came up with a server, they came up with a container called as web server. Clear? They came up with a container, okay? They came up with an they came up with a container called as web server with a servlet container inside it. This web server with a servlet container inside it, okay, can be used to process the code related to the servlets and JSP. They can be used to process and generate not only the static content, but can also generate the dynamic content. But if I'm trying to open and see what exactly is there inside my web server, I see that my web server had two parts inside it. One is a file system handler to take care of anything and everything related to the static content. I have another one called as another container called as servlet container to take care of anything and everything related to the dynamic content. Okay, so I have a request. These two layers put together, I call it as my web server. So whenever any application deployed on this web server, Okay, whenever someone is coming and accessing the application, in case if the request is for some static content like an image file or a text data, it will be hitting the file system handler. If the request is for some dynamic content like account balance, 100 email count, the live scorecard, okay, all those kind of a dynamic requests will go to the servlet container. Clear everyone? Anyone, any questions still here?
Clear.
Oh, no.
Perfect.
No.
Cool. So this was a trend. Everyone was very happy. Okay, developers were very happy because they can generate not only static but dynamic content. Okay, customers were very happy. They can see the updated information. Everyone was very happy. Okay, but one fellow by name Sun Microsystems wasn't happy. He didn't stop the R&D just with the introduction of a servlets and JSP. He continued his R&D, and as part of his continuous R&D, he came up with a technology. Okay, he introduced many components into the programming world, into the Java J2W programming world. But one important technology relevant to our discussion is the EJB and RMI. Okay, don't worry about EJB and RMA, what exactly this technology does, okay, works, how, what is the background story related to that, just don't worry. Okay, there's another technology from the Sun Microsystems family called as an EJB, which is called as an enterprise Java Bean, or RMI, which is nothing but remote method invocation. In a layman terminology, okay, if you see this EJB and RMA, what is the purpose of it? I'll explain in a layman terminology. Let's say that, okay, you people are staying in outside the Hyderabad, okay, and you got your parents or relatives working or staying in Hyderabad. You're trying to call to them, okay, you're making a remote invocation. Let's say that you got your Gmail or a Yahoo Mail account created when you're there in India, or when you're working in India. You're going to US, you're going to UK, you're going to Australia, wherever you're going. Across the globe, wherever you're going, whenever you're trying to hit www.gmail.com and entering your credentials, the request will first come and hit the, to authenticate and authorize, okay, it will come and hit the local server, remote communication. Okay, so if you see the EJB and RMI, EJB and RMI had a capability of not only processing the code related to the static and dynamic content, but they also support an extra added advantage of remote communication. So what happened compared to the servlets and JSP, since my EJB and RMI are much more advanced, okay, what happened? All the developers started moving away from servlets and JSP to EJB and RMI. There is a problem. What is the problem? To process the code related to the static and dynamic content, I have a server by name web server. Okay, I have a server by name web server. But to process the code related to the EJB and RMI, which not only support static and dynamic content, but they also support remote communication. I can't use my web server. Why like that, Shiva? Why can't you use a web server? Because my web server is a protocol dependent server. Okay? My web server is a protocol dependent server. Any communication you want to do with a web server, okay, it has to be either an HTTP or HTTPS. Other than HTTP or HTTPS, any communication you want to do with an web server, you can't do it. Whenever you're making a request to the web server, it understands only the HTTP protocol. Okay, and similarly when web server is trying to send some response, it sends either in the form of an HTTP or a HTTPS. Other than these two protocols, okay, my web server cannot understand any other protocol. But my EJB and RMI being supporting the remote communication, they demand for a protocol independent server. Clear? They demand for a protocol independent server. So to process this particular requirement, what people did is that they again started doing their continuous R&D. Clear? When they're trying to do with the continuous R&D, unlike the previous scenario, now they didn't thought about only what is my current requirement. They also thought about tomorrow some other new technology comes, how do I support that? Clear? And what are the challenges that are present in the current server? How should I accommodate the changes so that it can be enhanced in the new server? So all these things, the people kept it in the mind and they started doing a continuous R&D. As part of their continuous R&D, they finally came up with a server called as an application server. My application server is a protocol independent server which can execute any kind of a business logic supporting multiple features like transaction management, remote communication, data source, high availability, session replication, fault tolerance. Multiple advantages are there in a application server unlike the web server. Clear everyone? Anyone? Any questions on web server or application server?
No, fine.
Perfect. So this is what is meant by application server. When application server was being introduced into the market, it was like a real estate market in Hyderabad. Anyone not from AP or Telangana? Satish, name itself indicates AP or from Telangana. How about you, Venu? You're from AP or from any side of North?
AP.
Ah, cool. So then it's easy for me. So when the term application server was being introduced into the market, it was like a real estate market in AP. Okay, the moment the Telangana Andhra formation, Telangana Andhra got separated, okay, the real estate got boomed up. Everyone started saying that, okay, here is a place where you get the outer ring road, here is a place where you get the capital city, here is a place where you get the ring road. So similarly, when the application server was being introduced into the market, everyone started labeling the server as an application server. But in order to qualify, in order to standardize the application server, Sun Microsystems, or currently called as an Oracle, said that, okay, if you want to certify your product as an application server, it has to implement certain guidelines. It has to implement certain rules and regulation. Unless until that isn't met, I can't certify your server as an application server. If you see the JBoss application server is 100% Java J2EE compliant application server. Okay, my JBoss application server is 100% Java J2EE compliant application server. What do I mean by that? I mean to say that whatever the guidelines, whatever the specifications that are being suggested, 100% all of them are implemented inside my JBoss. So that's the reason I call my JBoss application server as an 100% Java J2EE compliant application server. But if you see the history of JBoss application server was initially available as an open source technology. Am I clear to everyone? Anyone?
Yeah.
Any questions still here?
No.
Perfect. Yes, if you have any questions, either you can unmute yourself or you can type into the chat window, whichever is convenient for you. Okay. So if you see the JBoss application server, as we discussed during a demo, okay, JBoss application server, when it got introduced into the market, it was introduced into the market as an open source technology, open source server coming from the community called as jboss.org. Okay, which implements Tomcat internally. Okay, internally it was implementing a Tomcat. Okay, and initially the JBoss application server was available as an open source technology, open source application server, from where I can get the data, from where I can get the download the server or the documentation. I can simply go to the community, like how we have the apache.org. Similarly, you can go to the jboss.org and you can download the corresponding open source version, which is also called as standard version. Okay, standard version or community edition. Clear? Standard version or community edition is nothing but the JBoss application server that was available inside the jboss.org. But as the market was growing more and more for the open source technologies, Red Hat company got into this jboss.org and they started releasing two versions of JBoss application server. One still the same standard or the community edition available from the jboss.org. The other one called as enterprise edition or clear, enterprise edition or licensed edition. Forgive me in case if there is any spelling mistakes. Okay. So this enterprise edition, when someone is saying that we got an enterprise edition or EE version, that means to say that this is a product they got it from the Red Hat company, okay, which has got an license attached to that. Clear? If you see the difference between the enterprise edition and the standard or the community edition, hardly there is any difference between them. The major difference is that in case of a Red Hat, you get an standard support as per the SLAs defined by the Red Hat company. Clear? If you're trying to get it from the standard version, wherein which there is no need to pay even 1 rupee or 1 NNP, you don't have a license available. Clear? Guys, am I clear? Anyone? Any questions till here? Okay. Satish, it is clear? Vinny, you're clear? Perfect. Yep. So, one important point over here, I'm just trying to revise once again. JBoss application server is available in two flavors, standard and enterprise. Standard, when someone is saying that standard, it is nothing but, okay, they're getting it from the open source market. Whenever someone is saying that it's from the enterprise, they're saying that we got a licensed copy from the Red Hat community. And there's one small term, people generally use it out of confusion or out of unknowingly, called as an developer edition. What is this developer edition? The developer edition, okay, is available only, as per my knowledge, it's only available with the Red Hat. Depending upon what is the contract, what is the agreement between you and the Red Hat, sometimes for few of the customers, they also release the developer edition. Okay, the terms and conditions I'm unsure, but Red Hat also releases a community developer edition to couple of companies depending upon the agreement. As per my knowledge, I never seen a developer edition from the jboss.org. Clear? So when someone is trying to say the word developer edition, confirm with them from where they are getting it. Because if you see the product-based companies like Kony, there's another product-based company where they try to use the developer edition, which is again a licensed edition from the Red Hat, not from the jboss.org or the community edition. Clear?
Yes.
Perfect. And with the recent versions, okay, happening up with the recent changes happening up from in the JBoss standard or the community edition, whatever the latest softwares that are there from the 6.x onwards, they stopped releasing it in the jboss.org, and they had their own site which is completely managed and controlled by the Red Hat, called as Wildfly. From 6.x onwards, whatever the community or the free or the standardizations of the JBoss you want, you can get it from the Wildfly. This is a brief history introduction about the JBoss application server. If anyone has any questions, they can let me know. Otherwise, I'll continue.
No questions. No questions. Yeah, no questions.
Perfect. So we know that, okay, JBoss application server, okay, is available from the community as well as from the Red Hat company. And we also know that JBoss was there in the market from a considerable amount of the time. So if I want to learn JBoss application server 6.x, do I need to know the little bit background of the JBoss application server? Like, do I need to know about how the JBoss was working in 4.x or a 3.x or a 5.x? Frankly speaking, not at all needed. As we discussed during our demo, the JBoss application server 6.x is a completely a revamp of the JBoss of application server. No need to have any background knowledge on how the JBoss was working in the previous editions. Clear? Having said that, okay, if you want to explore more about the JBoss application server, we have to first of all understand how do I install the JBoss application server. What are the features of JBoss application server? If you see this, okay, irrespective, first we'll talk about the installation. Once we are done talking and introducing ourselves to the installation, we'll then talk about the features or capability. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you see the installation of JBoss application server, irrespective of whether I have got the community, irrespective of whether I'm trying to use the standard or enterprise edition, I can do the installation of my JBoss application server in multiple ways. The first one is by unzipping the software. Clear?
Okay.
If you're trying to do the installation of JBoss application server, I'm trying to talk irrespective of whether it is coming from the community or from the enterprise copy.
Enterprise.
Okay, you can, if you have the software available as a zip file, unzip that particular software, your installation is completed. Okay,
The software.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. The one you sent us, right? That is that enterprise one or the from the JBoss company?
It is an enterprise one with a developer license.
Yeah, I think you didn't send me the software.
Yeah, I haven't sent to anyone. I'll be sending it to you today or max by tomorrow.
Okay. Okay.
I need email ID from you all people. This is my email ID. I'm putting it into the chat window. This is my email ID, and try to drop in test email only from your Gmail ID, because all my softwares are present in my Google Drive. I'll be sharing it from the Google Drive. You will have a Linux operating system?
Yes, I do.
Cool. How about you, Satish? Satish, you have the Linux operating system? Or do you want me to share it for you? If you have it, I'll not share it. If you don't have it, kindly let me know.
Okay.
So Satish, you have it? Okay. Silence, I'll assume that you have it. If you don't have it, okay, just drop me in when you're trying to drop an email, drop me a test email along with that one, okay, so that I can share it accordingly. Yeah. So coming back, so when I got the software, okay, irrespective of the type of the software, I'm trying to download, okay, I can do the installation of my JBoss application server just simply unzipping the software, or if I have the package available inside my operating system, I can just do an yum install. Okay, this is possible only in case of an enterprise Red Hat Linux operating system. If the software is available as an RPM, if the software is available as an RPM inside your operating system, which is applicable for a Red Hat Linux operating system only, you can simply do an yum install to do the installation. Or if you're trying to do the installation on an operating system with suppose the GUI, like a Windows based operating system, okay, if you got an operating system with suppose the GUI like Windows based operating system, and if you want to do the installation, you can do the installation of your JBoss application server by using the GUI mode. If you got the software in the form of a jar file, Java archive, okay, you can simply execute the command java space -jar. I'm assuming the name of my JBoss application server as jboss.jar. You can simply say java space -jar jboss.jar. This will invoke depending upon the type of operating system you're having. It will either give you a GUI or a command line utility. By default, it will first try to see whether it can get the GUI or not. Else, in the second option, it will give you a command line utility. Clear? So you can try to do the installation either by unzipping the software. In case if you got a RPM package, you can try to do an yum install. If your operating system supports the GUI, you can use the GUI. If you got a software as a jar file, then you can simply say java space -jar and you can do the installation, or you can do the auto installation by using the automatic installer. Clear? Generally,
Yeah.
this is generally meant, okay, in the scenarios where you want to do the similar installation on 10 machines continuously. Clear? You got an software, you need to install a JBoss application server on 10 machines wherein with the software is present on the same location, and you want to have a similar kind of a structure on all those 10 machines. What you need to do? You need to do the installation on one machine. When you're trying to do the installation on one machine, at the end of the installation, an XML file called as an auto.xml file will be generated. This XML file, you can take it and you can simply run it on the other 9 machines. Okay, it's a command line utility. Okay, this XML file will contain the instructions. So you take this XML file, run it on the other 9 machines. Okay, the installation gets completed. There's no need for you to again do the process what you did it for the machine 1. On the remaining 9 machines, okay, you can simply provide this auto.xml as a command line argument and you can do the installation. This is how we try to do the installation of the JBoss application server depending upon the type of operating system and the package I've got. Anyone, any questions?
So,
This is just a
Shiva,
theory. I'll be doing the map.
yeah. Shiva, in the production, out of these 4, right? I mean 5. What kind of installation method you use for the first time?
First time?
In the production for the first time, like usually what out of these 5
Fourth
methods,
option.
which method is fourth option? Okay.
Fourth option.
Okay. Yeah, got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone, any questions?
Yeah, no.
Good. So if you don't have any questions, let's pause here for today. We'll continue tomorrow with the lab, doing the lab of the JBoss application server installation, as well as discussing about the features.
Yeah, sure.
Okay?
Yeah.
Cool. And kindly
Sure.
drop me a test email from your Gmail ID so that I can share the software, and also let me know whether you have a Linux operating system or not. Okay, so that I can share only the JBoss, or I can share both JBoss as well as the Linux software. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Great. Thanks everyone. Bye.
Bye.